Hello everyone, I'm Zud. Today we'll walk through a real example using the steps that we discussed last time to show how hazards are identified. These are the hazard identification steps that we covered last time. The first step is to define the task. And today we use wetting as our example because it is pretty common and routine task in the workplace. There are two key points to keep in mind in the first step. One is that we need to not only consider routine tasks, but also non-routine tasks. So in wetting, a routine task would be wetting standard workpiece, whereas non-routine tasks may include, for example, supervisors may occasionally assign wetters to work on other items such as racks or containers. So these are considered non-routine tasks, which may introduce new hazards. Another important thing is to consider three conditions: normal conditions, abnormal conditions, and emergency conditions. An abnormal condition may include situations, for example, solvents are being used in the wetting area to clean something. So this is an abnormal condition. We need to consider hazards like sparks could potentially set the solvent on fire. And emergency conditions could be like if the wetting machine caught fire, we need to identify hazards that wetters may face while they cutting off the power or responding to the fire. And since most of the hazards occur during routine work and normal conditions, so we'll select the routine wetting as a task in this step. The second step is to list all the equipment, materials, and tools that are involved in wetting. This step is quite straightforward. We can identify all these items by simply observing the wetting process, as these are all tangible and visible items. And here are some of examples. So equipment associated with wetting includes things like electrical wetting machine, power distribution panel, and film extraction system. And materials include wetting rods, workpiece that are being wetted. And tools may include angle grinder, hammer, and workpiece support. So this list helps ensure that we identify as many hazards as possible without missing anything. We start with the first approach, which is identifying hazards based on each item. And we start with the wetting machine. So what hazards are associated with the wetting machine? What types of energy are present? First, it contains electricity, right? So we identify all the energized components, such as energized wetting holder, or if the wetting machine has electrical leakage, the whole metal casing can become energized and causing electric shock. And wetting machine also involves thermal energy. For example, aged or damaged insulation on the power cable can overheat, and wetting holder itself can become hot during wetting. Wetting sparks are also hot, so all these can set something on fire. And then there are other hazards such as power cables lying on the floor, which can cause tripping hazard. And wetting also generates fumes, ultraviolet radiation, and noise. So that covers all the hazards associated with the wetting machine. Let's look at the workpiece. Some workpiece has sharp edges which can cause cuts, and the workpiece can become super hot during wetting, causing a burn hazard. And there's also a risk that the workpiece can fall from the work table or support if it's not fixed. And what about angle grinder? So what hazards or types of energy are associated with it? So first, it has kinetic energy from the rotating grinding disc, which can cause cuts. And the disc itself may break and be ejected. And also the metal fragments from the workpiece can also be thrown outward. And grinding also generates dust and high temperatures. So by the third step, we have already identified the majority of the hazards associated with wedding. And in fourth step, uh, we just go over these accident categories and check whether any hazards may have been missed. For example, we know that fire is a potential accident during wedding, so we find out all the causes of a fire, such as aged or damaged insulation on the cable, wedding sparks, or overheating due to current overload, and sparks generated during grinding. So in short, in step 3, we identify all the hazards associated with each item. And in step 4, we find out all the hazards associated with each accident. And by combining those two methods, we can identify nearly all the hazards. The final step is to identify occupational hazards. Some of these has already been identified in the third step. So we just review the list of occupational hazards and check if anything has been missed. And don't forget the ergonomic hazards, as they are not in the list. So at this point, we've already identified almost all the hazards associated with wedding under normal condition. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for listening. And if you are interested in learning English for EHS, please scan this QR code and join our group. Okay, I'll see you in the next episode.